going to do a little bit of painting. I know we're starting off pretty late, but I'm going to go ahead and broadcast this on Twitter. Alright, let's share that. Okay. And we'll get down to painting. I'm just going to open up the stream here for comment. So I'm going to go to the watch page, and I'm going to mute that. There we go. Okay, great. All right, and we're just going to get to it, okay? Because we don't have much time. I'm just going to paint for a little bit, and we'll get going from there. So right now, all I really did was prime the guy, and then I'm doing the flesh really quick here. So starting off with a base of golden brown, and now I'm working on the next layer, which is going to be bronze skin. And I'm not doing anything real fancy here. It's just the basic paints and just the basic paints and a little bit of water. All right, and just building up the layers. And because there's not much skin on this model, I'm going to go pretty quick on this skin and try to get as much of the model totally done as possible tonight. Because if I can get him actually like mostly done, we'll say mostly done, then I can actually try to get in a game with him maybe tomorrow. That's what I'm hoping for. So I might be able to get in a game with this guy tomorrow. If not, not a big deal. But I would like to be able to do that if at all possible. So, I'm sorry the feed has been very sporadic lately. It's going to continue to be. I mean, that's just the reality. Now that family life is starting to settle in. I know I still owe the Extra Life guys their packages and all that. I'm still working on that. But had a little bit of a setback this week because I was actually sick this week, so that's why that's why I really haven't been able to do a whole lot. All right, so now we're just going straight through it, guys. So we're rifling through this. The final color here is going to be Caucasian flesh. Okay, so here's the skin system: golden brown, bronze skin, Caucasian flesh. Now Reaper usually has these in trios, but my LGS doesn't sell them in trios, and can't seem to have a full complement of colors for whatever reason. So I'm just using what they've got and trying to make my own trio from that. But it's okay. I mean, we're gonna, when it's all said and done, this should look just fine. Again, it's because, if you're blending correctly, it should look just fine. And who knows, if this actually looks a little bit better than fine, then maybe this becomes a regular skin color scheme of mine. All right. So here's the Caucasian flesh, kind of being the last one of these, and we're not going to glaze this skin or anything like that. I mean, it's pretty much going to do what it wants to do. Right? So in case you're wondering, this is the Golden Vance miniature from Relic Knights. Ooh, a little too much Caucasian flesh right there. I'm going to spread that out a little bit. Pretty cool model. It's a resin kit. His cipher, unfortunately, mine is a miscast. So, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to paint her immediately. I'm probably going to use a different model as the cipher for now. It's a shame, too, because it's a really cool looking cipher. It's a little like mermaid thing. But yeah, mine was miscast, so we won't be doing much of that. Okay. Now I'm just gonna run this highlight over the model. And this Caucasian flesh is really thin, so I'm just gonna run a couple of coats of it. But it looks okay. I mean, it's nothing to write home over, but he'll be okay. Right? He doesn't have a whole lot of like really interesting skin feature to him anyway. He's just a regular kind of run-of-the-mill space pirate looking guy, right? He really is kind of a plain miniature. He's not nothing too big. I'm gonna set the autofocus so that it does actually focus to this point. All right, there we go. I'm gonna take autofocus off. Oh, I need to make sure. Right. Right around there. Right around there. Is that good? That's pretty good. So if I'm right there, you can kind of see what's going on, right? All right. Cool. All right. Anyway, so there's that. Now let's put in the first layer of his hair. It's kind of like the model itself is supposed to have black hair. So I'll put in. So we'll paint in the black hair detail. And he kind of has like a buzz cut, like it's like it's supposed to be like shorn on the sides there. By the way, here's yet another potential cosplay for those of us who have goatees. You know, we can be Golden Vance. It's the other option. Right. And I'm just gonna paint in the goatee. It's real watery. Looks like my black gray is a little too watery right now. Look at that shaky hand. Hey, what's up? Yeah, sorry, dude. That's me. I got shaky hands. I'm not really ever gonna fix that. That's just me. I actually had a doctor check it out several years ago when I was working in the medical field, because you know you have to do like a lot of precise motions and stuff with your hands, and I had a doctor look at my shaky hands, and he said, yeah, it's it's just you have a hereditary thing. It's a little bit of a tremor. Um, it's not bad, and he had me do some tests to see if I could still work and can still operate and do fine manipulation with my shaky hand, and I passed those, and and it's just kind of been that way. It's been like a permanent workaround for me, having to figure out how to paint miniatures with there. See how watery that was? I actually took it off. I took that gray off because it was just running into the mouth and other parts of the model that I did not want it to. Right? So there we go. So there we go. And then he has kind of this, there's like these black, there's like a black tech piece right there. It's kind of weird. Kind of a weird spot there. Right. Just real kind of muddy, that side of him. And I actually need to paint back here. Right. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to figure out how to paint the rest of him while all this is drying down. I'm going to do one more quick layer here on the hair just to get the hair even. Okay. So now we gotta figure out how to paint the rest of this guy. So his armor is gonna be, it's black, right? His armor is black. His arm is kind of like a rusty, I don't know, it's kind of a rusty brownish color. And then the gun is black. The cloak and the headband on the model are red. So there's not a whole lot of different colors on the model. So what I'm going to do is we'll go ahead and start the first layer of the armor, which is actually still the same kind of black gray that we've been playing with right now. So I'm going to run a thin wash of it over the model, and then we're going to build into that like black color. Okay. His face looks, I actually do need to do a little tiny little touch up here on his skin. I have to take it off frame because it's really small. So I apologize for going off frame again. There we go. Hopefully that dries. Things are really watery tonight, so we'll just have to hope for the best. All right. So now I'm going to start painting this the black Under Armour in, and you can see I'm painting it in real thin. All right. It's coming in super thin. I'm just like painting a wash in. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is I want this first layer to look like a wash, and then I'll just keep shading it down by adding a little bit more thin. This is a Relic Knights figure. I love the guy. Yeah, this is a Relic Knights miniature. This is Golden Vance from the Star Nebula Corsairs faction. He's one of the newer resin kits. He's still from the first rule book, so you can see his stats online, and if you use the Relic Knights app, you can see his statistics. I have never actually played this knight before, but I'm intrigued to, because for a couple of reasons. One, he has an offsuit recover, which makes him kind of good with with Kanobo, and he has a compel. So this guy might be for those of you who want to field Kanobo, and I would say Kanobo and even the two uh, the two void minions. This might be your guy. But that's just looking at him on paper. With Relic Knights, stuff looks great on paper, and then you have to play it to see if it's actually gonna pan out for you. But he looks he looks fairly good. I mean, he's a book one questing knight. Book one questing knights are fairly good. Um, maybe not as good as Magnus, say, but he's still gonna be pretty good. I think he's gonna be good on the field. That's just my from looking at his stats. He looks like he's gonna be pretty good on the field. All right. Um, actually, the base is actually the same scheme, so I'm gonna continue on and paint the base in. It's a lot of iron look to this guy. Okay, so you can see how he's coming along. Now I'm gonna paint the second layer in. And again, my emphasis on the second layer is really the recesses of the model, the shadowy parts of the model, because then I'm gonna just get that layer to sink in there. Right? And we'll highlight it as soon as that's done. Oh, I totally forgot he has his shoulder pads. How are the No Empire? I bought one of their figs a while back on sale, but never played the game. They'd be the faction I'm interested in. No is actually a pretty interesting faction because because they're like demon looking guys. Um, the One of the assumptions people make by looking at them is that they're the quote unquote the melee beat stick faction. And that's not the best way to look at that faction. Truth be told, melee isn't great in Relic Knights currently. You have some individually powerful melee attacks that some models have access to, but there really isn't a quote unquote melee faction in Relic Knights. And so no really isn't a melee faction. They're actually a board control faction. They have a lot of pulls, they have compels, they can hold the board down really well. They can start to move pieces around. It's one of the things that they do really well, and they're pretty resilient models too. So the other thing that No can do is they have some reasonable alpha striking capability too. So so yeah, overall they're a good faction. I actually had a No faction for a while, but I had to cut down because I had all six factions. So they were one of the factions that didn't make the cut, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, they're very good. I consider them to be a very good army. Hey, what's up, Simon? Welcome to the show. So so now I need to start painting in. I'm gonna start painting in this gauntlet, and so the gauntlet is it's kind of like a rust color. So I'm going to get some shade down first. Actually, I'm going to get one of the medium tones. So I'm going to work again with golden brown because this is a good kind of the middle of the tone that I'm going for that part of the model. But yeah, I'm excited to play him. I think, with as much fun as I've been having with Questing Night Cross, Questing Night Cross also has a pull. And that's like my favorite thing right now. So speaking of No, and I know No does this pretty well. Um, I like to have models, some models at least, that have pulls or compels, because those become super useful, especially when your opponent isn't really thinking about you using that. Um, and if you use it early game, it can really help a lot. Um, Compels are particularly strong because you can actually, you get to move it around. It's not a directly towards or directly away type situation. Yeah, he is really different than the rest of the Corsairs. The one thing that's interesting about him is you read his fluff, and he's like really probably one of the cruelest guys in the entire Relic Knights universe. But his cadre ability is a recover, which is kind of weird. I don't know. I maybe I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have when I was reading the fluff, but to me that doesn't quite line up with my understanding of the character. That his cadre ability would be a recover. I think if anything he would. Well, I mean maybe the guys in his cadre have to be used to taking a beat down from this guy because he's supposed to be pretty mean, pretty cruel character. Okay. So right now, I'm just sort of blocking. I'm going to let that dry, but you can see where I'm going with that. It's kind of a rusty. Oh, I better do got a couple other areas here to do. I'll do the top of the sword, and I'll do this belt, and I'll do right here. He's got kind of like piping around his jacket as well. Nanites and his cipher are healing spect. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry for a sec. You can see I really haven't done much towards getting that done. So now I need to continue on with the black armor. But what I'm going to do right now is we are going to take some neutral gray, and I'm gonna highlight the model just lightly on these areas. And I am kind of working at a quicker pace tonight. I've been under the weather lately. If you can't tell, my voice is a little bit busted up, so I've been home for a couple of days, just in bed, really. This flu's been pretty nasty one for me. Um, so I just want to paint for a little bit because, when you do stuff that you enjoy, you feel better a little bit. You feel a little bit better. So I'm kind of hoping that if I can get a little bit of painting done, that kills two birds with one stone, right? I get to catch up on a little bit of painting for me, and hopefully I feel better so that I can get back to work tomorrow. That's the hope, anyways. We'll see. We'll see how we do. Okay, so right now I'm just kind of painting that gray in. So yeah, I've been home for the past couple of days. Um, I did actually force myself to finish watching Star Wars. So I finally finished The Force Awakens. Like, I don't know how many years late now. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't, I had it here and I just haven't watched it. Haven't been able to string together that kind of time, and frankly, that kind of interest to watch it. There was so much hype about Star Wars, and, you know, I was like, everybody was so hyped about it when it came out that I was like, not that I can go to the movies with two small kids now, but I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna wait for a while. It's not, I didn't feel like I was really missing anything when it came out, and, the whole internet was abuzz with it. I'm like, I'm gonna wait, and because right now with the at maximum hype, you couldn't really get a fair assessment of the movie, and I'm one of those guys that I was skeptical of the prequels when those first came out, and everybody got mad at me when I was like, no, you can't do you say that about Star Wars, So I was kind of I'm kind of a skeptical person, I guess, and uh, it always doesn't always resonate so well with others. But yeah, so finally got to finish it. And I attempted earlier, like earlier this year, I attempted to watch a bit more Star Wars, and I watched like the first 20 minutes of it, and I couldn't watch it. I'll be honest, I couldn't finish it. I couldn't watch it. Um, and the reason why I couldn't watch it is because the first 20 minutes of that movie just move at that kind of breakneck pace. It's like really fast. It's really fast paced, and it's and I wasn't buying the characters, and there was just way too much. There's just way too much coincidence, right? There's just way too much. Um, like, oh, they just found the Millennium Falcon. Like, that's actually the part that I had to, when I was originally trying to watch it, I had to just stop and like, wait a minute, just stop, you guys, just stop. So I stopped. I stopped watching it back at that point, and I didn't pick it up for several months again. And finally, someone told me, like, one of my local people told me, hey, just, you know what? If you're ever home and you're sick and you don't got anywhere to go, and you got some time to yourself, put it on and watch it. Just watch it, and with an open mind, and see what you think. And so I finally, it took 2 sick days from work uh, to be able to say that that I watched it again, or not again, but for the first time I actually sat through it and watched it. Um, and yeah, I mean, initially I had a somewhat negative response to it, because it was like, it's moving too fast. It's a little too um, things are a little too convenient because they're trying to move things along, and I suppose I understand that, but I just wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it. It's like, I feel like Star Wars is this franchise that I really loved as a kid, um, and I feel like it. In all honesty, I feel like it's kind of let me down ever since Return of the Jedi. And one of the main reasons why I liked it so much as a kid is, I was in first grade when Empire Strikes Back came out, and from the first movie, I was just such a huge Darth Vader fan that I was, honestly, I was like, that's a cool bad guy. Um, I love that guy. Want to see more of that guy. So, Empire Strikes Back comes out, and it's the first time I recall as a kid watching a movie where the bad guys won. And Empire has such a different tone from the entirety of the rest of the series and I know, like, all the hardcore nerds or whatever fawn over Empire, but I'm consider me part of that crowd, I suppose. I guess I'm an Empire fanboy, and I feel like none of the other movies have ever really gotten back to that level of quality for me. And and there were, a lot of the reasons for that were, can you really has there ever really been a bad guy quite as cool as Vader? Um, and it had Boba Fett. Anyways, I could go on about why I love that movie so much. But that movie kind of ruined the franchise for me in a way because, like I said, nothing else has ever really gotten that good for me. Nothing else has ever really uh, managed to get to that level again with me. So, you know, so so the TFA comes out, and at first everybody's super hype over it, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it at least 6 weeks. Figure 6 weeks is enough time for all the hardcore, you know, I'll just call them fanboys. You can get mad at me if you're a fanboy. Go ahead, get mad at me. If you're, I was like, the 6 weeks is enough time for the fanboys to calm down a little bit. Um, and then we'll just kind of take it from there, right? I'll wait 6 weeks. I'll look at some reviews online, um, and then I'll decide, where and when I'm going to watch the movie. So that's what I did. And even after, all the hype died down, I just couldn't motivate myself to watching the movie. It just didn't seem, a lot of people were saying that it's basically just trying to remind you of it's trying to bring in new fans, and so it's trying really hard to kind of retell A New Hope. Oh, passing out, having a good night, Simon. Um, did I Zenithal Prime? I sure did. Yes, I did Zenithal Prime. That's a standard thing for me to do. Um, so yeah. Uh, so I figure. So they tried to do a retelling of it. That's cool. Whatever. I get that. Um, but I honestly don't know what my expectations for a new Star Wars would be. If I'm being totally honest with you, I prefer that they didn't continue the story. That I was kind of okay with it where it was, and it. And if they were going to continue the story, I hope they would go in a much different direction. Um, I spent a good portion of the early part of the film kind of wondering to myself, well, wait a minute, didn't we win? Didn't we win at the end of episode 6? Didn't wouldn't, isn't that isn't did I miss something? I could have sworn we won the we beat the Empire. Sure enough, we beat the Empire, but then now there's the First Order, right? And you're like, okay, that's fine, but and I'm still kind of wondering, like, why are we still rebels in our own galaxy? Why didn't if we just toppled the Empire? Why are we still galaxies? And I've heard so many people defend this to me and explain to me, oh well, there's a lot more to tell in the whole Star Wars universe and this and that. Okay, fine, sure enough. But I'm not, you know, I may not be the biggest fan of Star Wars. I'm more of a I liked the one movie a lot, and the other ones were okay. That's really honestly my stance on it. So you gotta you can't lead me off in the weeds somewhere and tell me that that's where my answer is. I'm gonna need something a little more substantial than, well, you're not paying attention to the extended universe of Star Wars. Yeah, whatever. I need a little bit more than that. Um, so it starts off on that premise, right? And it's not the worst premise to begin, but I I wish there was a little more creativity behind the the inception of the First Order. In fact, if you read the opening credits, it really it made my head scratch. It made me scratch my head a little, even a little bit more, because it was saying like, the First Order has formed and they're out to destroy Luke Skywalker and the last of the Jedi, and you're like, okay, so the First Order, based on that statement, not based on what happens in the movie, but based on that statement, I'm supposed to believe like an entire regime got together, took basically all the technology from the old empire with the intent of chasing down one dude. I don't, I can't buy that. I can't buy that. I can't get behind that. And, when you watch the movie, it's a little more, their aim as bad guys, the quote unquote bad guys, is a little more sinister than that. Okay, fine, whatever, right? They're they're still after conquest. They're still after they're still out to conquer the galaxy, sort of, right? I don't know. I just why you're telling me it's the same sides. It's almost like, to me, that it just seems silly. Like that's a hard reset. Like, okay, well, we're just running it back. We're just running it back essentially. To me, it would make more sense that if the empire was toppled, that essentially that in this case um, it was basically the ambivalence of the restored republic that allowed the First Order to return. Okay, kinda. I can kinda see that. But I mean, in order to have a movement as big and as powerful as the First Order appears to be, because I could be totally wrong again. What do I know about Star Wars? Seriously. Um, I just would think that there would need to be some ground level support or hatred of the Republic. And the movie doesn't really get into that. They don't even explain, like, okay, Leia and those guys, the leaders of the rebellion, like, did they just sort of like, okay, we're done now, and like walk out? Did they just peace out after they won after they blew up the second Death Star? Or, I mean, I don't understand why the sides are the same and why it's the same power structure. I don't understand that. I would think, if anything, that the Republic would get to a point, and I've seen this in my own life, with um, with political factions, that one faction that's out to topple the other one starts to become like that other faction. So to me, it would make more sense to have the First Order really be formed from the hub of the Old Republic, and that the Old Republic, that it was like that it was like the swinging of the pendulum again. That would make more sense to me. Like, okay, that this Republic swings from being a totalitarian empire to being a more fair and balanced republic. But that's just me. I don't know. I don't know. My off base, but that's what it felt like the whole time. I'm like, why are they still having this fight? Why is this still a thing? There needs to be a little bit more to it than that. And the way the opening credits describe it, it's like, oh no, they're after Skywalker. Well, that's not exactly true. There's a faction within the First Order that has a hard-on for Skywalker, but the rest of them, it's just sort of like a hey, we're badasses, right? We need to. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so tired. I can't even string together coherent thoughts on Star Wars. But anyway, suffice it to say, there there were a lot of things I questioned, and there were um, and the whole happenstance of the movie, the way it kind of it feels like thrown together to get some really really good technical scenes. Because I mean, from a technical aspect, um, the movie is really well done, right? The practical effects are excellent. The soundtrack, the score is excellent. Um, there's a lot of technically good things about this movie, but the writing is lacking. Okay, the writing and the premise for me is sorely lacking. Um, just I guess just take that for what it's worth. The new characters are okay. They're not great. I I didn't really. I don't know. They're okay. When people are complaining about Ray being a Mary Sue, I totally see where they're coming from there. I do think that it's a little too preordained, all the stuff that happens to her. So there wasn't a single time in the entire movie that I worried about her. I was like, oh, she naturally does everything. She can teach Han Solo how to best optimize the Millennium Falcon. Uh, she can outforce Kylo Ren when they're staring each other down and trying to reach into each other's souls. She can out lightsaber Kylo Ren. She's just better at everybody at everything. And I'm like, well, that's kind of dumb. You know, I don't know. That that character was disappointing to me. It's just too. The character is just too too foolproof, right? There's just like nothing. There's nothing wrong with her. There's no conflict other than she wanted to stand Jakku because she was waiting for somebody. That was her big dilemma through the whole movie. And it wasn't even a very big dilemma. Like they talk her out of that quickly enough. But she's like this upstanding, perfectly moral character who grew up, uh, you know, uh, she grew up scavenging parts for food, right? And living totally alone. And we're supposed to believe that she's going to grow up with these perfect morals and be absolutely good at everything. And the character is just extremely hard to believe from where I'm sitting. And again, feel free to call me out. If I'm dead wrong, call me out. But from where I'm sitting, that character is extremely hard to believe. All right, looking pretty good. Let's get a little bit of. I want to actually do more orange for his outfit. So I'm gonna use this. He's gonna have a lot. He's gonna have more like Corsair orange to him. I hope it works. It should. It should look pretty cool. I think. I think it should. We're just painting this model super fast, by the way. Here's that. There's that orange going down. But no, I had some severe problems with the writing of that movie, and I was thinking maybe I would take notes and give it a thorough review on this channel, as like during one of my live painting streams. But it's very hard to stay coherent about that and paint at the same time. You know, maybe if I had somebody that would tease the questions out of me while I painted, maybe that would work. But um, as it stands, I don't really see that happening. That said, I mean, the movie was a little, no, well, it was, it's still entertaining, right? It's still, for what it's worth, it's still entertaining. It's just not, I just don't think it's worthy of the praise that it got. And I don't think it's worthy of, I really don't think it's worthy of the box office it saw, but, I can't tell people how to spend their money. Um, yeah. But, the counter to this is maybe guys like me are done with Star Wars. Maybe the genre no longer has anything to offer somebody like me, right? I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel like that's where it's at with Star Wars and me is, that's what they want a new generation of fans. They already have my money. They don't need any more of my money. I'm not gonna go to the theater. I'm not the you know I'm not a big I'm not the a big Star Wars guy really. So I'm not really gonna go to the theater and watch all their movies multiple times. But I know a lot of people that are, and as long as those people are happy, then cool. Um, it just didn't work for me, and I don't know. And maybe the point is maybe it doesn't have to, right? I don't think Star Wars is interested in going after higher levels of intrigue and um, higher political meaning that somebody like me might want to see in the movie. It doesn't really, its audience is happy with the explanation that they're getting. They don't really need what I'm asking for. All right. Okay. We're gonna let that dry. So now we're gonna start washing these other areas. In particular, um, I'm gonna wash that area with some strong tone. So a little bit of strong tone, and we're gonna get all of those like rusted areas. Well, that yellow dries. It's supposed to be an orange, but it really is yellow, isn't it? We're just gonna have to shade it down to orange. Right. So I'm just gonna take this strong tone. I'm gonna use it to shade. Oops. There's a shade going down. I like that his melee attack has the toe ability. Is fantastic. He's pretty good piece if you ask me in terms of his overall abilities and stuff. Kind of excited to see what this guy can do. Uh, do that. Looks pretty good. Right. That's what we got there. Let's go ahead and do the black wash on the armor. Couple different ways you can do this. If I can find one of the ways, that'd be great. Can't seem to find one. Because sometimes I have it up here, like I leave it out because it's important. Because I use it a lot. Just not having the best time finding my paints tonight. Turquoise, blue, red. Here we go. So you can take armor wash, P3 armor wash, and this actually does pretty well. You use this to shade these blacks and stuff. Alternately, you could use inks, like you could use the Vallejo black ink, or you could use Nuln oil. I like armor wash because it also imparts just a little bit of sheen to it. See that? You can see how that is coming in. That does a great job of sitting in shadows and giving your model the sort of black iron look that you're trying to get. At least what I'm trying to get. See how nice that transition is? Actually, that looks nice. There's really not much to the model. Pretty straightforward piece when it comes down to it. Right. I know he looks really, really wet right now. Where did that orange go? But man, he's moving pretty quick. Let's Let's get the next part of this orange down. It's still really wet. It's so late at night. Yeah, still very, very wet. I may not, no, it look like I'm going to be able to finish tonight. It's just too, yeah. No, that part gotta take a long time to dry. I don't know why that ended up being as, like, as watery as that ended up being. What I can do, though, is I can at least paint the white highlight of the skulls. I can totally do that. Alright. There. At least do that tonight. I don't know how much actual painting I can do on the cloak. But I mean, frankly, he's almost done. You know, there's some more, like, highlighting and shading on the bionic bit. But it's not that much. I just need that wash to dry a little more. Let's paint in his bandana. Alright. You can see the orange coming in there. A little stronger now. I totally forgot to do that bit right here. There's more orange coming in. Woo. A lot. Hi people, say what's up, Phil Brush. Welcome to the feed. Just painting up, trying to paint really quickly this golden Vance miniature. He's coming along. Try not to get too scared from this orange that won't dry. It's like really shiny. And we'll keep toning it down until we get to something that we like. But we're getting pretty close actually. to something where like we're getting. Ooh. I do need to hit those parts again. Alright, so you can see that color coming in now. It still looks way shiny on camera, I can tell. It's gonna stay wet a little bit longer. That's just how how colors like that are gonna behave. Those deep yellows and deep oranges, deep reds, they're gonna do that. There's so much colorant in them that they're gonna look really, really wet for a while. We'll give that some time to dry. Yeah, he's looking okay, right? He's not. He's what you expect from a quick paint job. He's not. He's not the best paint job, but he's. You know, what are you gonna say? Right? Kind of. He's kind of doing it. But I really need a lot of time for that orange to dry up. And then we'll highlight the orange. The other thing I can do right now, I think, because I think the wash on the rusted bits are getting pretty close to dry. So what I can do now, if I want an additional tone, is to take some Seraphim Sepia and wash those bits again. And that will add another layer to the model that makes it look, gives it that rusted appearance. Right? You can see like how we're going deeper with the shadow. And while the strong tone is supposed to sit in the very crevices of the model, the sepia can sit just a little higher up. And you can see it's giving a much more brown tone to a more golden brown tone to this piece of equipment, this like power gauntlet. Right? Yeah, unfortunately, looks like nothing is gonna dry tonight. So I may actually be done. I might actually be done for the night, which is kind of a bummer. But what I can do is I can do one more thing, and I can do the center of that like power claw right there. I think it's red in the model. It's like a red lighting effect, which is fine. But I like using colors like verdigris And I guess I could use sky blue. Electric blue. Here we go. Electric blue is a little bit better. Let's use electric blue. Right. While all this, every other part of the model is drying. There. See? Super easy. Just that. Now, when the wash dries, you can actually do more lighting around it. But for right now, that's all I'm going to do. Do that and I'll give it a little tiny little dot in the center. Which you can't even see on camera, but there you go. You can kind of see it. So yeah, here's Golden Vance with a lot of the model drying because we painted too fast. So we're gonna. So unfortunately, I really gotta stop and let the model dry. I can't. There's not a whole lot else I can do tonight. I can show you some other stuff though, real quick. I got my Kickstarter stuff in from Atomico Press, and Atomico Press did these kung fu miniatures, which was cool. You know, he does art, and he's a local guy. He's a guy local to me in Southern California. Actually, he's kind of in Central California, and he's a sculptor. He's an aspiring sculptor, and he does these mini Kickstarters, like really tiny Kickstarters, only for like a couple $100, because he does his own sculpting and spin casting. So you get this whole like pamphlet, his sculpting style. Here's the artwork for the kung fu miniatures, and yeah, here's his name, Jose Atomico Torres. And he did this Kickstarter on kung fu miniatures, and they're really fun little characterful pieces. Um, and so they came in. You get I backed him for 10 miniatures, and he was cool. He sent me. Um, I think I was the very first backer on this, which is kind of cool. Um, so he sent me a couple extra, and you can see they're one. Most of them are one-piece miniatures, and they come on these. They come on those stands. And one of the first things I did was I wanted to, you know, I want to put them on standardized basing so that I can use them for gaming. So I might use these for like Fistful of Kung Fu, or you might use them for Frostgrave even, or any number of like the especially the Osprey games, the games that allow you to use whatever miniatures you want. But they're pretty fun. I mean, the let me see if I turn that off. You don't really get much. You can't see much detail because I haven't primed them yet. But they're pretty nice. Here's one of the two-piece models. The sword hand is a second piece there. He's just like the giant strongman guy with a giant blade. Super fun. Here's the wise man. Love that. These are based on like 1960s kung fu movies. A lot of influence from the kung fu movies, and I I wanted them for those two specific reasons, because I wanted something that I could use for a fistful of kung fu, and I was I was really interested in making a kung fu themed company for Frostgrave. So so these are going to have dual purpose. You get a couple of these like spear guys. Then you get like this is like the spear master dude. The spear hand was a second. The spear hand is a second piece. So there were two-piece models, the big strong man and the spear hand. That spear guy, and you get a bunch of swordsmen. So these are, you know, they're good characterful sculpts. They should paint up really quick, right? Because they're, kung fu costuming isn't highly intricate. There's not all this tiny detail to pick out. It's mostly like flowing robes and swords and long hair and braids and stuff. There's a female swordsman. She has more of like a standard long sword, really cool. And then here's my favorite miniature of all of them, actually, is this guy here. Just like the old Master Yoshi character. Really cool. So, anyways, I was really excited to get these from Atomico Press. It was only, now for those miniatures, I actually ended up getting 12 miniatures. It was 40 bucks. That's a steal. 40 bucks for all those minis. I did, granted, I did put them on some stamped bases, and they're going to be fantastic on those bases, so that's great. But yeah, I'm looking forward to painting those soon. Vance is not drying any faster. I was hoping he would dry a little bit so I could maybe do a third coat of that orange on him. I could also could just wash the orange. I could get lazy and just wash it just to finish him, but yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever. I think what I'll do, actually, while the camera's still rolling, is we'll knock out one more coat of this orange. Actually, should use a... Oh no, that orange is fine. Try to get a little more opaque coat on there. And then I'm just gonna kind of let that dry and then paint black in the bases and call it for now. I mean, that's all I can really do. There's more detailing to be done on the model, but if I am planning on playing him tomorrow, which very well may be the case, then I may just want to get the orange to a point where I'm not completely upset about it. Right, so I'm just going to get this orange to a respectable point, and then we're going to call it. I gotta get up in a few hours and go to work. Oof. I totally forgot to hit that shield plate with sepia. But again, not done with the model, so that's gonna have to wait. looking pretty cool. And let's just paint the, even though I'm going to have to do this again, I'm going to paint the base in black just so you can kind of see. Actually, I might not have to do this again if I seal him tomorrow. There we go. Okay. So I know he looks totally wet right now because he is, but that's the basics. I mean, that's Golden Vance in about the space of an hour. So, with that, I am going to start shutting her down. Try to get a more proper feet going. You know, maybe do something over the weekend. I'm not sure. But I feel like I got to do a proper stream for you guys that watch the show. Something a little bit longer. My whole like incoherent Star Wars ramble, I may have to like clean that up and come back into a proper Star Wars ramble. But as of right now, here's what we're looking at. He's going to dry. He'll look pretty good. Still could use some highlighting and stuff. He's still pretty much underway. I would say he's about 75 to 80% done. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank everybody for watching. Have a good night, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.